Hello survivors, and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. And in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Raiden, who is going to be a brand new Advanced Token Wheel character coming to RTS. Once the Casanova Davy wheel ends, this wheel will begin. Visually, we have not had a Raiden in the game before. He is part of a newer allegiance, and he is in the same kind of visual get-up that we have had a character before in Lady Z. He looking very kind of military based. Everything's color coordinated as well. There is definitely a stylist in this group in the Apocalypse, which is great because it obviously does look really, really cool. The weapon looks really like kind of, you know, sleek as well. I really like the visuals on the right hand side. On the left hand side, you can see he's obviously like saluting somebody, whether that be a character or you, I don't know. He's just saluting somebody. I guess that would mean he's not the boss. Someone else is the boss, but he could be like one of the main helpers, I guess. We'll see, we'll see. At level 1440, limit break 3, he has got 15,728 attack, 31,457 defense, and 31,457 HP. Exactly the same defense and HP. Obviously a defensive fighter here. He's a tough character holding that rifle. Of course, he is going to be a tank. He's going to be a tanker. And he's going to be a mythic as well. And like I said, he's joining a bit of a newer allegiance in the new old California. Now, first off, we'll look at Raiden's Adrenaline Rush. It is called Vanguard Strike. It is a 55 AP cost rush. This character gets a Guardian Shield and 50% defense for each living teammate for 2 turns, deal 400% damage to an enemy, plus 100% damage for each teammate with a negative status effect. We're seeing this like each teammate, each living enemy, each living teammate thing happen quite a lot, which is actually kind of cool. The first part is the character gets a Guardian Shield. So they'll get a Guardian Shield, this will happen, and that means any sort of reflect or anything like that that comes back on what the damage he does later will potentially just get negated by that Guardian Shield. If it's multiple reflects, then obviously the first one will get negated, then the other ones will follow up. But this is a defense team fighter, not many kind of reflect-based characters on attack. Maybe like Ronaldo, that's about it. Plus 50% defense for each living teammate for 2 turns. This could potentially mean he gets a 200% defense buff, which is really, really high. I think Ezekiel, one of the original released mythics, had that kind of buff, and it was crazy when it went off. It only lasted for 1 turn. This lasts for 2 turns, so very, very nice indeed. Obviously, it can get stolen away, so there is obviously ways around this, but that is a massive defense boost for sure. The potential of it is really high, but he could potentially get no defense buff here. We'll have to test this out, whether he's got teammates or no teammates. We'll check this out. Now, lastly, the damage is always going to be 400%, but it could potentially go up to, I would say 800%. I don't know if he's included himself. He might be included himself in the living teammate or, negative status effects on teammates. So it could potentially go up to 800% here or 900%. No matter what, it's going to get buffed. I'm going to have to create a team where it's going to just do lots of negative effects on characters to see the output of this. This is actually going to require maybe 2 or 3 little clips to show the difference on the rush here. So we have got Raiden on the defense team, and we are going to see what his Adrenaline Rush can do. This is the worst case scenario. Effectively, all his teammates are down, so there's not going to be any negative effects on them. There's not going to be any living teammates either when it comes to the defense buff, so we can just kind of see like the minimum what it's going to be able to do. He gets the rush off. He does 400% to somebody. He gets a Guardian Shield, and he gets 50% defense. So he will get 50% defense if he's the last character alive. Does that mean he gets 250% if there are 5 characters in the team? We'll have to see. Okay, guys, we have got an Adrenaline Rush now on Raiden, and I can tell you that it took a long time to set this up, where we have 4 characters who have control on them, and Raiden's going to be able to do his rush. He's going to get the boost because he's got teammates alive, but he's also going to get the boost because they've got control on them for his damage. We'll just defend here on the last character, and he should do like a 900% hit or whatever it was. And as you can see, it's not going to be too spectacular. He's not really, a damage roll character, but trait damage that did 16,000 of the 25,000 of the health of diamonds. So you can kind of see how it works. But you can also see the defense buff he just got was 250%. So it is himself included on top. So it's actually going to be a 250% defense buff. Very nice indeed. And of course, he's got that Guardian Shield as well. Now, that Guardian Shield will be useful for other parts of his kit, even if you're not coming up against anyone who has any sort of reflect and stuff, because it will stop him from taking damage once his specialist skill procs, but we'll get onto that later on in the video. If we look at the upgrades here, you can see at grade 3, he gets just a straight upgrade, where he gets 20% defense for each living teammate for 2 turns. At grade 5, he gets an upgrade where he gets 100% damage for each teammate with a negative status effect. And at LB2, he gets a plus 30% defense on that each living teammate upgrade that he got at grade 3, making it a 50% defense buff for each living teammate, including himself. So if he's the only one alive, he'll still get a 50% defense buff, which is still decent. 250% on the other hand is absolutely crazy. You know, if you target him when he's got that sort of defense, you're not going to be doing much damage, to be honest. So the rush is quite nice. It's obviously going to be 55 AP, so the kind of speed you want it to be on a defense team character. It will go off naturally on turn 3 as long as there's a signature move going off in the first 2 turns, which no doubt there will be, because that's where a lot of the power in the defense team characters is in that signature move. But if this rush does happen, it's going to be problematic just based on taking this character out, you know, as targeted, because he's going to get a massive defense buff. The attack could be decent. There could be other parts of his kit which could boost this. Also, if he gets an attack buff from somewhere else, that could be quite nice. I don't know if it'd be worth giving this character any sort of like offensive capability, even if it's like a 1535. There were some defense team characters where you could do that and be a bit sneaky. I think this is, you know, going to be decent. You could see it did okay-ish damage, but it had to do trait damage. But he should focus someone who is of the alert trait, if there is someone of the alert trait on the attacking team. So going across to Raiden's signature move is called Irresistible Challenge. It is a turn 1 signature move, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. Remove taunt resistance from 3 enemies. Taunt 1 random enemy for 2 turns. While battling on the defense team, taunt 3 random enemies for 2 turns instead. And if those enemies have focus, they get minus 75% attack for 2 turns. There's a lot of fail saves in here. The first one obviously being the removal of the taunt resistance in the first place. This means it could potentially remove taunt resistance from characters that would get taunted. So that's actually pretty decent. And then you taunt 1 random enemy after that. It could land on one of the characters that you remove the resistance from. Now that's on an attack team with that taunt. However, if he's on a defense team, he'll taunt 3 random enemies for 2 turns. This is obviously crazy off of turn 1. Heavy control. Be taunting them into his kit. So whatever he has on his kit when it comes to maybe his weapon, you could be taunting them into, you know, reflect. You could be taunting them into impair. You could be taunting them into whatever you have kitted out on this character. We also will check out the passives to see if there's a difference in there as well. But if they have focus and they won't get taunted, they're not going to be doing any damage after that, because they get minus 75% attack. That's going to drastically reduce the attack potential of characters. That's mainly going to be a problem for damage dealers. Minus 75% on a damage dealer basically just makes them, you know, not much of a character. You're wasting rushes if you use them. And it's going to last for 2 turns as well. This has got quite a quick turnaround when it comes to being able to be used again. So you won't actually get a massive window in terms of actually attacking otherwise. Okay, so we are attacking. We're going to get that signature move come off on turn 1. I have got some characters in here with 100% taunt resistance just to show you their taunt resistance is going to get removed, and that's Clementine and Lily. I also have a character that potentially gives themselves focus at the beginning of every turn. We're going to see how that is affected. He's got focus right now. Will it, you know, give him minus 75% attack if he applies it at the beginning of his own turn? We'll have to see. I'll hit defend. In comes the signature move. And we get the taunts come off. They just all got taunted. You saw the actual characters with the 100% taunt resistance have it removed. But I think potentially if Titan had given himself the focus at the beginning of his own turn, he might have been able to bypass this. This might be a one very small character in the game that can get through this. But I can just do a test to check that out. Okay, so we'll start the fight, and I'll just do the defend action just to test it out. He'll do his taunt, and then I'll get focus. So this is pretty much the only character that can get around this as an individual. It will not get the minus 75% attack in this case because he applies it at the beginning of his turn, and the taunt comes in on Raiden's turn. There's not many characters who have this kind of a like opportunity, every other character is going to fall into the trap of minus 75% attack or being taunted and actually attacking Raiden. However, in a character like Titan's case, he has got a 60% chance to give himself the focus, and the taunt does last for 2 turns, so he's got a very good chance of being, actually taunted for one of those 2 turns, effectively a 50% chance to actually get the focus. So, it's reasonable chance to fit, get past it for at least one of the turns, but you don't know which turn that could potentially be. So he could potentially be doing the taunted attack straight away. You're going to get bonus AP, of course, when that happens, because it's 5 extra AP per taunted attack. And because it's only a 55 AP character, they're likely to get their rush off of, turn 1 taunt, because they'll get 35 AP from the signature move, 5 AP for each of the 3 taunted attacks, plus the AP they'll get from losing HP. That's most likely going to be 55 total. If we look at the upgrades on this signature move, you can see, while batting on the defense team, taunt 2 random enemies for 2 turns comes in at grade 2, and that's an instead, obviously. Initially, it's just, 1, and that's where it's going to work always on attack. At grade 4, an upgrade comes in while batting on the defense team. If those taunted enemies have focus, they get minus 75% attack for 2 turns. And at LB1, you get +1 remove taunt resistance target and +1 taunt while on defense team target. Initially, it's going to be 2. This is boosting it up to 3 of each. And at LB3, it'll get -1 to starting cooldown. So initially, it is a turn 2 starting cooldown. This is it getting removed and pushed down to turn 1. And I think that is obviously going to be the most powerful you could potentially get this, because you want to get this off as early on in the fight as you can. If you get this off of turn 1, like I said, you could potentially get a natural turn 2 rush. That's going to be very nice for you. Basically, you could potentially get the 250% defense buff, or you're much more likely to get 250% defense buff because you're doing the rush earlier on, so more teammates are likely to be alive for one, but also you're going to get that 250% defense buff for the turn when the enemy is generally going to be rushing, which is turn 3. So he's going to take a lot less damage because of that. So it seems to be pretty decent in terms of like the turnaround if you get this to a starting cooldown of turn 1. LB3 would be required there, but that would be just for the signature move power. You could potentially see something in the rush where you're like, actually, I maybe only need to get this character LB2 and I'd still be really happy with them. That's up to you, of course. Now, before we move on to Raiden's passives, we are going to be doing a giveaway for some advanced tokens. We are going to be giving away 10,000 advanced tokens to a winner and 5,000 advanced tokens to 2 runners-up. All you have to do is type in the chat down below, salute, as he in his art, he is saluting. You make that part of a sentence so you don't get spammed out by YouTube. Like I always say, it is fun to see what you guys come up with as your comments with the words. That is the keyword. Good luck if you enter the giveaway. I'll be doing the draw in about 10 days, so stay tuned for that. I always reply to you here on YouTube if you are a winner, so make sure you've got your notifications turned on for my channel to be receive an inbox message when I message you and say congratulations. But like I say, best of luck if you enter. Now back to the video. So here is a look at Raiden's mythic abilities. These are his passive skills. He has got strength, which is 40% critical hit resistance. Because he is a tank, this is going to make it so he takes less damage for one. That's obviously quite an important one. But there are a lot of characters that rely on crits to have other parts of their kit work. Maybe their specialist skill, maybe a passive. They also have guaranteed crits on things like their rush or their signature move that are no longer guaranteed against this character. Next up we have coin toss. When this character performs their specialist skill, 50% chance a random teammate gets 50% halo for 3 turns. This is actually pretty interesting. What I'm actually kind of, interested to know is, can he potentially give Halo to himself? I want to just see if that's the case, because that would be actually hilarious. If you know what his specialist skill is, well, you'll know why that potentially could be hilarious. The next one is Undaunting Presence. 80% normalized resistance. This is obviously massive, and it means that, trying to normalize this character is going to be problematic. A 1 in 5 chance. If you have got a character that is a control character, it would go down to 40%, but still, it's very, very powerful indeed. And then lastly, we have defensive posture. At the start of each wave, 60% chance this character and one other teammate get Guardian Shield, but +1 Guardian Shield while batting on the defense team. This means off of turn 1, you could potentially be coming up against a team with 3 Guardian Shields off the bat. This will obviously stack with any other characters that kind of do the same, so potentially if you have another character that can do 2 or 3 themselves, you could potentially have a full team of Guardian Shields straight away if these 2 characters are like teamed up together. If he's teamed up with someone who actually does Guardian Shields and you know, no Guardian Shields are removed off of turn 1 and they hit their Guardian 2 specialist, they'll give the Guardian Shields to the 2 people who don't have Guardian Shields, so on and so forth. So yeah, Guardian Shields are, like I said in a previous video with Carson, the bane of my existence. I don't like them that much. They're horrible to deal with, honestly. So we'll start this little fight here, and you can see that the Guardian Shields did proc at the beginning of the fight. It will go to the characters with the lowest max HP, generally speaking. So it does protect, air quotes, your weakest characters. But on defense teams, this shouldn't make too much of a difference. Everyone should have reasonably high HP. But if you did have him in a team with, let's say, Priya, she does have very low HP, but extremely high defense, so she'd most likely get a Guardian Shield every time. You can see that as a bonus or not. You know, it depends on how you want to view things. People wouldn't be able to attack her and daze her, and she has a cleanse, so that could be pretty useful, you know, depending on how you want to see things. I'm going to remove some of these Guardian Shields, because we're going to do some damage to one of these side characters. We're going to have the specialist skill proc of the actual character themselves. He should take tons of damage because of this, because these are obviously 6-star characters or S-class characters. I want to see if he potentially can get the Halo himself. He can get the Halo himself. Oh my god. So that means he can just self-revive himself. And obviously the less characters that are alive, the more chance it's got of landing on Raiden. So if there's only 2 characters alive and it's specialist skill procs, it's got more chance of actually landing on him if the passive procs as well. Like I say, kind of interesting, could extend the fight just a little bit. It only has to extend the fight by 1 or 2 turns, and it's going to be really nice. Now, if we look at the upgrades on Raiden's passives, you can see at grade 1, the first off of Coin Toss comes in, where it's that specialist skill proccing. There's a 20% chance a random teammate gets 50% Halo for 3 turns. At grade 2, we get the first half of Strength being 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3, we're going to get the second half of Coin Toss come in, stacking up, making it 50% chance a random teammate gets Halo. 50% Halo for 3 turns. So that's going to be the one that I just showed you with the clip. And then we have grade 4, we have 40% normalized resistance come in. It's just going to be a flat 40%. It's not going to be like a chance to get it. Grade 5, we get defensive posture part 1 coming at the start of each wave. 20% chance this character and one other teammate get Guardian Shield, plus 1 Guardian Shield while batting on the defense team. You saw that in that clip as well. We'll move on to the LB upgrades, and you can see LB1, another 20% critical hit resistance, making it 40% total. At LB2, another 40% normalized resistance, making it 80% total. And at LB3, we have defensive posture 2 at the start of each wave. 40% chance this character and one other teammate get Guardian Shield, plus 1 Guardian Shield while batting on the defense team, making it a 60% total. At the beginning of the fight, 3 characters will have a Guardian Shield, including Raiden here. So this character, while he is a tank, is doing a little bit of damage, and he is also doing a little bit of control and a little bit of support action. He's a little bit all-round. He isn't a super tank, but he has the potential of reviving himself when his specialist skill procs, and if he gets taken out with that hit. Or and even if he doesn't get taken out, he could just be sitting there with Halo for 3 turns, which obviously means that his specialist skill could proc the next turn, and then the next turn, and there's more Halo going around. Now, as you saw with that particular clip, if he gets Halo himself, it's just automatically assigned to him. There's no way you can remove it from a character that's just on the floor. Even if he has 100% heal reduction, Halo bypasses heal reduction from what I understand. So it's going to be very hard to kind of like preemptively block the potential for Halo to get onto this character. You'd have to take out the entire team. Like, you could have 5 characters lying on the floor, all about to be Halo revived, but if you've taken them all out, they can't, because there has to be someone alive for Halo to work. But it's, like I say, it's problematic. It's just going to be in your head that you have to deal with this character early on in the fight rather than later on. And because of how his specialist is, you might remember having 2 of the specialists in the same team is horrific to deal with. And I can definitely see Raiden being teamed up with the likes of Mike or Cliff in upcoming defense teams. That is because his specialist skill is Bodyguard, and it is basically means that when someone else gets hit, he takes that damage if it's a certain amount. While not stunned, the first time each turn that an allied teammate takes 30% of their max HP from a single attack, rush, active, or signature skill, this character will take that damage instead. damage transferred this way is reduced by 50%. Now, add on the fact that he's going to be getting potential Guardian Shields at the beginning of the fight. That means he can negate that down to 0 in that case. After his Adrenaline Rush, he's going to get that Guardian Shield as well. And the next attack he takes, whether it be a targeted attack or a Bodyguard attack, will be, again, reduced down to 0. Like I said, if you team him up with another Guardian, you could potentially attack the other Guardian. He'd take the damage. And you just know how it works with the double Guardians. It is actually problematic. So Guardians, in my opinion, always seem to come out in 2s. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I'm predicting that there might be another Guardian on the way in the next 3 months that will potentially team up with Raiden. Don't hold me to that, but I wouldn't be surprised because we had Mike and Cliff together and they obviously worked very nice in the same team. I think in the previous eras we had the kind of same deal. Quite an annoying specialist skill by itself, but double Guardians have always been a massive issue in my opinion. Now, all of the current Guardians can work on an alpha defense team, so I kind of see like these characters are being pushed to kind of buff out the alpha defense team potential. Early survivability from Raiden's passives here look pretty good for that. Now, last but by no means least is going to be Raiden's weapon, and it is Raiden's Vengeful Assault Rifle. It has got 40% defense, a huge bonus to AP when being attacked. It has reflect damage on base when being attacked, a better chance to deal 120% of the damage to the enemy. And in the last one, it has every turn heal 2 random teammates by 40% of your missing HP. Now, personally, I don't think this weapon is very good for Raiden. It's worth noting that when you have a Bodyguard character, they can't negate the damage they take from a Bodyguard hit other than from the specialist skill, which is just a 50% reduction. You have to have a massive HP pool for a Bodyguard character, so putting HP on this character's weapon is extremely important. Defense isn't that important, especially with the fact that he has the potential of getting a massive defense buff. Defense only helps with targeted attacks. It doesn't help with that specialist skill, which is, you know, generally what is going to happen. Every fight, almost guaranteed, his specialist skill will proc. Unless, for whatever reason, someone tries to target him, which they could potentially do. He has got a very problematic signature move, where it's going to have a lot of control. But regardless, even if he is targeted, HP is going to help there as well. It's just defense won't help if his specialist skill procs. That's just my opinion. That's how I've always done Bodyguards myself. Boosted the HP as much as possible, just so they can take a bigger hit. However, the visuals on this weapon, I think, are great. It looks very sleek. It looks very nice indeed. So that is Gold Mythic Raiden, and he is going to be an advanced token wheel character coming to RTS. I think this new old California allegiance is, you know, turning out pretty interesting. The kind of characters that we have when it comes to like the lore side of things. I think these are more RTS based characters, but it seems like 2 separate teams. I might do a separate video in the future about that because it is interesting. I know some people might be interested in that, but yeah, I think visually he looks great. Very interesting character from that side of things. I know a lot of people probably see him and just think, oh, he looks cool. His kit's quite nice too. He's going to work on quite a few different defense teams. I can see like prayer leads. I can see alpha leads. Raiden's going to be very nice on those teams, in my opinion. Team ups with those characters and potentially more recently released characters like Eric, so on and so forth, could be very nice indeed. But do tell me your thoughts on this character. Leave them in the comments down below. Best of luck if you enter my giveaway. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.